welcome to this explainer. Okay, let's dive right into things, because today we're tackling a really exhausting, completely universal problem: mental time travel. You know exactly what I mean, right? It's that constant, nagging habit where our attention just totally abandons the present moment. We're either obsessively raking over a clumsy mistake we made last week, or we're running these intense dread rehearsals for a meeting that isn't even happening until next Tuesday. It is so exhausting, it pulls us completely out of the now, and today we're exploring a seriously powerful Stoic method to help you fix it.
Here's our roadmap for today. 1. The time travel trap. 2. The Stoic seam. 3. The 5-step return drill. 4. Focus in the real world. And 5. Your one thing challenge.
All right, let's jump straight into part 1, the time travel trap, and why mental time travel exhausts us.
So the harsh reality about so much of our daily suffering is that it's quite literally just mental time travel. On one side, you've got past regret, but you can't revise the past, right? It's already gone. And on the flip side, you've got future anxiety. You can't live the future because you don't even have it yet. Yet we spend hours stuck in these two imaginary places. The crazy thing is, the regret and the anxiety actually feel like work. They feel productive, almost like we're actively solving a problem. But the truth? They move absolutely nothing.
And that brings us to this big, glaring number right here: 0. That is the exact amount of actual physical action you can take when your attention is stuck in the past or the future. 0. You can't choose, you can't lift a finger, you can't change one single real thing in your life unless you are firmly in the present.
Moving on to part 2, the Stoic seam. 2 worlds, 1 realization.
Let's look at the first life. In the book, The Alchemist, there's this great story of a camel driver in the Sahara Desert. Now, this is a man who had lost absolutely everything he owned to a flood. But he tells the boy in the story that he simply stopped living in the past or the future. He eats when it's time to eat, and he moves when it's time to move. Why? Because he finally realized that life is only ever the exact moment we are living right now.
And this actually connects beautifully to a totally different world. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The only thing anyone can ever lose is the present moment, the thin slice of now you are standing in." Just think about that for a second. You've got a Roman emperor governing a massive, complex empire and a poor camel driver crossing the Sahara, and they both arrive at the exact same conclusion. That isn't just a coincidence, folks. That's a seam. It's this universal, deeply pragmatic truth about human existence.
Now, at first glance, realizing that the present moment is the only thing you have might sound kind of like a downgrade, right? But it's actually the most freeing realization possible, because the present is literally the only place for action. Marcus Aurelius constantly advised himself to confine his attention strictly to the task directly in front of him, and to handle it as if it were the very last thing he would ever do.
Which brings us to part 3, the 5-step return drill. Think of this as your focus workout.
This isn't about floating off into some magical state of Zen. It's a mechanical, mental workout where every single return is a rep. Here are the 5 steps. 1. Notice you've left. 2. Name where you went. 3. Ask the one question. 4. Return to the next real action. And 5. Repeat without scolding. Okay, let's break these down so you can actually start using them today. Step 1 is just noticing that you've mentally left the building. We all have these physical and mental tripwires that go off when our attention drifts. Maybe it's a tight chest, a clenched jaw, a looping thought. Or maybe it's a familiar sentence playing on repeat in your head that starts with "what if" or "if only." The entire skill really begins with catching yourself mid-drift using these signals. Once you notice it, you immediately move to step 2. You literally name it. Say plainly to yourself, "That's the past," or "That's the future." Naming it strips away its power and kind of pulls you outside of the thought.
Then we hit step 3. And honestly, this is a real game changer. You ask yourself this one specific question: is there anything I can actually do about this in the next 60 seconds? If the answer is no, and let's be honest, for past regret, it's pretty much always no, then it isn't a real task. It is just an anxious feeling pretending to be a task.
Part 4, focus in the real world. Let's talk about applying the return drill.
Let's ground this abstract drill in some super relatable, everyday scenarios so you know exactly how to deploy it when you're overwhelmed. Say you have a dreaded 3 p.m. meeting. It's 10 a.m. and your mind is already drifting into future dread, just running through every single way it could go totally wrong. Run the drill. Catch the tight chest, name it the future, and ask that 60-second question. The real action? Spend 10 minutes preparing your key points right now and then return to your current work. What about a clumsy mistake you made yesterday? Your mind is stuck in a past loop. Ask the question. The real action? You either apologize right now or you genuinely drop it because there is literally nothing else you can do. And then there's that quiet drift, what I call the absent present. You're washing dishes, but mentally you're already at the grocery store running your next errand. The action is exactly the same. Notice, return and wash the dishes fully. Eat when it's time to eat. Wash when it's time to wash.
Now, some of you might be thinking, but wait, aren't I supposed to think about the future? Isn't that just being responsible? Yes, absolutely. But here is the critical difference we need to understand. Useful planning produces present action. Taking 10 minutes to jot down your 3 main points for that meeting, that's planning. Anxious rumination just loops without action. Pacing around your living room for 2 hours thinking, what if it goes wrong with nothing actually written down? That's rumination. Heap the first one. Use the drill to return from the second.
We also really need to bust a huge myth right here. A lot of people hear present moment focus and they imagine some blank thought-free trance. Then, when a thought inevitably pops up, they immediately think they've failed. Listen, thoughts always come. You are not trying to stop the drift entirely. The goal is not silence, the goal is the return. Noticing the drift and coming back to the one single action in front of you over and over, calmly and completely without scolding yourself.
Part 5, your one thing challenge. Let's put it into practice.
I want to challenge you to aggressively test drive this Stoic framework in your own life this week. Here are the rules for your one thing challenge. Just pick one ordinary day this week. Your single rule for that day is to do one thing at a time fully. When you eat, just eat. Put the phone away, no planning the afternoon. When you work on a task, close literally all the other tabs on your browser. When someone is talking to you, truly listen instead of loading up your perfect reply in your head. And most importantly, keep a rough tally of your successful returns. Every time you catch your mind jumping away and you actively bring it back to the present, tally it. Remember, that number does not measure your failure. It measures how often you successfully brought your focus back.
So, why are we doing all this? Well, because a steady, present mind is literally the launch pad for all great pursuits. Acceptance, meeting your fate, zooming out to see the big picture, everything about steadying your inner world ultimately leads right back to the present moment, because the present is where that steady mind finally has something to do. It's the doorway to asking those much bigger questions about what is actually worth pursuing in your life.
To wrap things up, I want to leave you with this final, powerful question to reflect on at the end of your day today. What is one thing you handled today that you could only have handled right now? Not yesterday, not tomorrow, just in that thin slice of now you are standing in. Think about that, try the return drill, and just see how it transforms your focus. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you in the next one.